Maria, a real pleasure to have you here in our offices. Thank you very much for coming by.
It is my pleasure to be here and to be talking to you about what we're doing. I have been in medical technology for over 30 years, and I've always viewed technology as an enabler for something better. And for the longest time, it was about better performance of medical procedures and medical interventions and treatments. And I think we are now transitioning into also helping technology serve the world in a way where technology can make therapies more accessible, and medical solutions more accessible, regardless of sophistication, infrastructure, expertise.
How are you describing what you're doing to friends and family to make it easy? What is Hyperfine?
So I think there's two ways. The easiest is to say it is MRI on wheels.
Okay.
And the slightly more complicated or a little bit more medical way is to really talk about turning MRI into a clinical decision tool that is readily accessible for clinicians to make quick and important decisions about their patients.
Could you explain to us briefly what is MRI and what is it typically used for?
Sure. So MRI is an imaging modality. It helps in diagnosis of different conditions. If I talk about MRI of the brain, it has very good way of detecting things at the soft tissue level, and that's what it has been really valuable for over the years. It looks at things like tumors that unfortunately happen to a lot more people than we would like, stroke, which is also another debilitating condition, and those are uses where MRI really plays its full value.
Yeah, and when we look at the current status of, let's say, conventional MRI, so the MRI that you would typically see in a clinic today, how does this look like? So where are the machines? How do they look like? How many are there?
I mean, the numbers vary a lot. I think I would rather talk about what I call the density of MRI, because you probably can find MRI in most countries of the world. There are some countries that have a high density of MRI per million inhabitants. Germany happens to be the one with the highest in Europe. It's about 35 machines per million inhabitants. So that puts the number of installed base here roughly in the 2,900 to 3,000 units or so. Where do you find them? You usually find them in the basement. And the reason why you find it in the basement is that you really need an infrastructure, a room that is perfectly fitted to actually have such a powerful magnet and such a heavy piece of equipment. So you really need to build a special place before you even acquire the equipment. You need to reinforce the floors. You need to shield the room so that the force of the magnet stays contained within the environment where the magnet is being used.
So basically, it's rather expensive, and there's a lot of effort that you need to put in actually to get patients into an MRI.
Correct.
And I think this is exactly the point where your company Hyperfine wants to change something, right? So could you tell us about the product that you have developed and this portable MRI system that you mentioned earlier?
Sure. So what we have developed is an ultra low field. It's a permanent magnet, but of very, very low strength that does not require its own protected, shielded setting, can travel all over the hospital or any other facility. It only takes plugging it. We could have one right in this room for as long as you have an outlet. It only draws the same power as a coffee machine. So it has incredibly low infrastructure requirements. It's also a lot more affordable than a conventional MRI. And it can be taken to where the patient needs it. It doesn't require the patient to travel to the unit. So we're talking primarily patients that cannot travel because they are highly compromised, all of your intensive care patients. Our intention is not to provide the full capability of a conventional MRI. Our premise is that we're going to be able to help physicians answer clinical questions. Does this patient have a stroke? If we can answer that question, we've provided a lot of value because then the physician knows what's happening. I have one of my medical directors that says we provide one answer to an important, but to a really important clinical question that is going to help them either make a medical decision or potentially a discharge, move decision that has a lot of value because it frees up a critical care bed and it allows people to be potentially down the road discharged also faster.
So basically, one could say it's not about directly competing to existing MRI, but you're offering something new here where there's completely new possibility, accessibility, and you say we are a new tool for a medical care that answers critical questions that cannot be answered today, that it's a complete new way.
That is correct. I do not see ourselves competing against conventional MRI. I see ourselves complementing conventional MRI because I think our biggest competition is the fact that those patients do not get a scan. That is what we're solving for. We're solving for someone that otherwise would not get a scan.
And in terms of like the future development or the future progress on the software side, what can we expect there today? So where are you today? How happy are you with that? And what is still possible down the line?
There's a lot more that is still possible. I am incredibly happy of the evolution we've had in just the last 18 months or so when I see where our software was and where it is today. I could show you images and you wouldn't believe that was DWI then and it is now DWI being one of the key sequences that we have developed and we offer on our scan. But the sky is the limit. I am incredibly proud of the team that is combining AI and software and hardware to continue to improve and making the images more clinically relevant, a lot easier, free of artifacts, and making sure that they actually can be read and utilized by people at very different skill levels as well.
Okay.
Can you give us the current status, also the challenges? Where are you in having licenses in the different countries, different regulations? So give us an overview of that.
Sure. So we are a U.S. company, so we started with the U.S. It is the FDA who regulates medical products, and we have received approval because it is in the category of 510K devices. We have to say that we have been cleared by the U.S. FDA. We have also received equivalent approvals in Canada, in Australia, and New Zealand. And when we look at Europe, there are now two types of certifications that we need. Is the EU CE mark, which we received earlier this year, and also the UK CA, which is Competent Authority certification, which we also have. So we have a relatively broad opportunity. Some of the certifications are a little bit more recently in Germany, in the EU, and in the UK. In the US, we have been approved for a number of years now. And a lot of the data that we have utilized to get certified in the countries we are already approved can be used for other regulatory bodies because the requirements are relatively similar. It's just a matter of following new processes with new countries.
And in terms of the number of machines that you have in the market at the moment, can you tell us about this?
So our install base is about 100 machines right now, and we are fortunate to have an install base that is very global. Our commercial efforts are primarily centered in the US, but over the course of the last 4 years, we've also had a very strong partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they have utilized our equipment to run a program around learning readiness and understanding of infant brains and helping in the acceleration of brain development when needed through nutritional supplements. And with that, they have deployed our systems in many places in Africa and in Asia, primarily in India, in Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Okay. So we have actually soup systems a little bit all over the world.
And then, of course, also for our investors, quite important. So what's the business model? Like it's a one-off sale? Do you get continuous revenues? What's the business model?
Sure. From a business model, it's an upfront acquisition, price, and then that covers the first year of service, and starting at the first year anniversary, then an annual fee, which is about 10% per year of the acquisition cost.
And can you tell us the prices of this, like the first acquisition cost roughly?
In the US, our price right now is $400,000 acquisition, and then the service charge is $40,000 starting year 2.
Okay, and maybe just for our listeners, can you compare that to the cost of a conventional 3 Tesla machine, for instance?
The conventional 3 Tesla machine is probably going to be in the $2 to $3 million based on equipment plus infrastructure.
So that's a factor of 8 difference almost.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Technologies such as these are the ones why I'm so excited, like being here and in investing in such things, because these are like prime examples of how a new technology can make the world or the lives of people better in a very concrete way.